These are the accounts of 6 different people that went missing under mysterious circumstances in Idaho County, Idaho. These people were outdoorsmen and women that otherwise could have survived. There are a few clues like footprints, a backpack, and a dog that came back, but there is no definitive proof on where these people disappeared at. If you have any information on these missing people, please contact your local police department and or National Forestry Service for the Missing Persons Registry. It was May 1978 when Franklin David Harder, age 25, was reported missing in the Bergdorf area west of Riggins. Harder was taking care of some property at Bergdorf for a Riggins couple. It had been 10 days since anyone had heard from the man, described as a bit of a loner. A search crew was assembled, but didn't know where to start. They agreed that it would be futile to go to Bergdorf and start a search at random, not knowing just where to start or what direction to go. A month later, the search resumed by 2 men who believed by holding a piece of Harder's clothing they could walk to where he was. Snow and the risk of avalanche caused the search team to abandon the effort. Several more attempts were made through the summer of 1978 before the search was abandoned. They found nothing to prove or disprove that Frank Harder is or is not in the area. There has since been no trace found of Harder. Despite a bruised knee, Ronald S. Gray, a retired state police captain, said goodbye to 2 hunting buddies, shouldered a 100-pound backpack, and disappeared into the Idaho woods. The experienced outdoorsman from North Brookfield, who survived 2 tours in Vietnam, was supposed to return to their base camp by September 23rd. He never showed. A day later, the Idaho County Sheriff's Office and the Idaho Army National Guard sent teams on horseback and helicopter to search Nez Perce National Forest, a rugged mountain area spanning about 8,500 square miles. They have yet to find a trace of Gray. And since then, the only thing that has been found is his backpack, which was approximately 100 miles northeast of Grangeville, in the Highland Lake area near the Selway River. No trace besides that has ever been found. James Francis Schroeder, aged 21, was hunting in the Louse Lake area near 3 Rivers when he went missing. Schroeder and 2 friends, David Benesh and Dan Cummings, traveled to Idaho from Wisconsin to do some hunting. It was late September and the weather was mild. When the 3 hiked into a campsite, they brought no stove, but planned to cook over an open fire. On the morning of September 25th, Schroeder headed out hunting by himself. Despite cautions from his hunting partners, he left without a hat, coat, compass, or map. He never returned. One of the hunting partners went out the next morning to look for tracks, but found nothing, like in the Susan Adams case. Within 2 days, bad weather moved in, hindering the search and diminishing hopes of finding Schroeder alive. The second day Schroeder was missing, the 2 friends didn't even leave because it was raining so hard. On the 3rd day, they were unable to build a fire, so they decided to leave and get help. By then, snow was falling. When searchers reached the camp, it was under a foot of snow. All of the gear was wet, the tent was broken, and the burro the 2 had left behind was gone. When Cummings and Benesh left camp, they left no dry wood or matches in case the victim returned. Searchers believed that he wouldn't survive under the conditions. Over the years, several bodies have been found, and comparisons made to dental records for Schroeder, none matched. He remains missing to this day. Susan Seymour Adams went missing from the Bitterroot Wilderness, September 30th, 1990. Susan and her husband Tom spent quite a bit of time hunting and bird watching. 1 week after arriving in Idaho, Tom set off on an overnight with his hunting guide. Susan and another guide accompanied them to a ridge above the campsite, where they would begin their hunt. Susan and the guide returned to camp with the 4 horses. It was the last time Tom would see Susan. When Tom returned to camp Sunday afternoon, Susan was not around. Tom looked for her near camp, and as evening drew in, expanded his search. He found her tracks on a dusty trail. He followed them for about 20 yards from the meadow, where the tracks stopped and vanished. The search continued that night, and the next morning one of the guides rode the 25 miles to get help. By Tuesday morning, the weather had turned wintry, and the search was hindered by snow and cold. The next day, the search was called off until the weather cleared. It resumed a week later for another 3 days before the weather shut down the search for the winter. Another search took place in July of 1991. The search was conducted using dogs, trackers, even a psychic to try to locate Susan's remains. Susan's husband worked for the governor of Texas. The governor got involved, asking the National Guard to free up helicopters to aid in the search. But to no avail. Susan Seymour Adams vanished without a trace and is missing to this day. Footprints in the mud. That was all that was found the night after Christopher L. Holverson disappeared May 16, 1998. And those footprints never were conclusively identified as belonging to the then 18-year-old. 17 years later, what happened to Holverson remains a mystery. Holverson of Idaho Falls was a 1997 graduate of Skyline High School. The night of his disappearance, Holverson was camping with 8 friends, 1 other adult, and 7 teens. At an elevation of 6,400 feet, snow remained on the ground at the campground. At the turnoff to Table Rock, numerous people were partying that night, but authorities said only 1 remembered seeing Holverson. None of the 8 people who were with Holverson that night ever were charged with any crime. One of the girls that was with him said that Chris is the type of person to just leave, but he usually comes back. A few days into the search for Holverson, an unidentified witness, not known to anyone at the camp, reported seeing someone walking along Forest Road 218 who closely resembled Holverson. The witness saw a young man walking with his head down and said he was wearing a blue jacket with a white stripe on the side. That's the one piece of evidence. It's a pretty accurate description of what he was wearing. Anything could be possible with this case, though. The afternoon before, Holverson left his Chevrolet truck at his cousin Felicia Wallace's residence. The night Holverson disappeared, he was having an argument with a girl that wouldn't pay him attention. So he was very upset by this and stormed off, but tripped on the way out of the tent. The passerby was the last sighting of Overson. Since then, he has vanished without a trace. Todd Hollander, age 39, was last seen September 27, 2010, in the Windy Saddle area of the Seven Devils, southwest of Riggins, Idaho. He and a friend had separated trails when Hollander went missing. His dog Ruby was found alive 2 weeks later. While finding Ruby is an exciting development to Hollander's family, it's also a cryptic clue, leaving even more questions. They took Ruby to the spot where they thought that Todd Hollander had disappeared, hoping that she'd lead them back to him, but his whereabouts to this day are unknown, and no trace has ever been found besides his dog. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you have any information whatsoever, please contact your local police department and our National Forestry Service Missing Registry. And thank you again. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for future videos.